So in the previous video, we described how digital signatures work. So now we are going to elaborate a bit on their properties, and we are also going to describe how some other types of signatures. Now, digital signatures, they have some core properties. First of all, a digital signature must depend on the message that is signed. In order to sign a message, the sender needs to use information that is unique to him. So for example, if Alice wishes to sign a message that will be sent to Bob, basically Alice needs, in order to sign the message she needs to use some unique to her information, and this is her secret key, right? So in order to sign a message, we use our secret key, which is we are the only one who have access to that. Recall that when we described asymmetric encryption, we said that the secret key of an entity will never leave its perimeter, right? So we always assume that only the owner of a secret key has access to it. In addition to that, a digital signature must be relatively easy to produce, recognize, and verify. So whenever Alice is sending a signed message to Bob, Bob needs to have access to an efficient algorithm that will allow him to easily and efficiently verify the validity of the signature. Apart from that, digital signatures, they must be computationally infeasible to forge, either with new methods for existing signature or with fraudulent digital signature for a given message. Now, let's see what digital signatures they achieve. First of all, they have looked at message authentication. Nevertheless, they do not address issues of trust. This means that when you receive, for example, a message that is signed by Alice, you can verify the authenticity of the message, in the sense that you are using Alice's public key to verify the signature, and if the verification is successful, it means that you can be 100% sure that this message was indeed signed by Alice. Nevertheless, this does not mean that you can trust Alice, or it does not mean that you can trust the actual message that you received. Imagine that this message might have been indeed signed by Alice, but at some point in the past, and what you receive now is not what we call a fresh message. Anyway, we will see more examples on this kind of attacks on lectures 4 and 5. For now, keep in mind that digital signatures, they do not address issues of trust. Apart from that, they provide a guarantee of authorship, which is equivalent to message origin and proof that the message was sent by Alice. They provide a guarantee of integrity, message integrity, which means that the message has not been altered in transit. And also, digital signature schemes provide the very important property of non-repudiation, which means that once Alice signs a message, she cannot later deny having done so, assuming her public key is widely publicized, of course, and distributed. Now, this aspect of digital signatures is crucial for legal applications where a recipient may need to prove to a third party, say the bank or a judge, that the signer did indeed certify a particular message. To see why non-repudiation is so important, consider what would happen if you could sign a check and then say you did not sign it. Now, this is a great advantage of public key crypto over the symmetric cryptography. The other one is the possibility of achieving key distribution between remote parties. We see about that on the next video, where we're going to talk about digital certificates. Now, let's start talking a bit about some other types of signatures, and let's start with blind signatures, which is one of my favorite tricks, I would say. So the scenario is like that. Imagine that Alice wishes Bob to sign a message for her. Now, the thing is that Alice does not want Bob to know the actual contents of the message M that he will end up signing. So what she can do is that first, Alice, she will generate the message M, and then she will generate a random number R, a random value R. Now, she will add this random value to the original message M that she generated, and this will result in a masked value, in the masked message, let's call it M prime, that Alice will send to Bob. So upon reception, Bob basically can see M prime, can see the value of the masked message M prime that Alice generated, but he cannot tell anything about the actual contents, the contents of the actual message M that Alice generated in the beginning. Now, what Bob will do is that he will use his secret key to sign the masked version of message that was sent by Alice. So Bob will reply back to Alice by sending a signed message, a signed version of M prime. Upon reception, Alice, who is the only one who knows the actual random value R that she added in the beginning, she removes that random value from the signed message M prime that received by that was sent by Bob, and ends up having basically a signature on the original message M. So she unbinds the random value R, and this results to a signed version of M by Bob, and Bob doesn't have access to doesn't know anything about the actual content of M. Now, this might seem like a strange thing. I mean, why would Bob sign something without knowing what this is, right? Nevertheless, however, the concept has useful application in situations involving anonymity, such as digital cash and electronic voting. So imagine that the customer, Alice, does not want the signer, Bob, the bank, to be capable of associating the message M, which is the money, in that case, the money that Alice is going to spend, with the spender or the service that Alice will purchase. And now, another type of signatures is the group signature. So in this scenario, imagine that Alice wants to send a signed message to Bob, but at the same time, she does not want Bob to know that this message was sent by Alice. However, she does want Bob to be able to verify the validity of the signature, but at the same time keeping her identity, right? So how can we do that? I mean, till now we know that when we sign a message, we use unique information to us, right? So whenever Alice is signing a message, she must use her secret key, and the verifier of that message will always know that this message has been signed by Alice, because the verifier would have used Alice's public key to do the verification. So how can we do that? Now imagine that instead of having one Alice, we have two Alices, right? So every time that one of these two Alices is sending a signed message to Bob, Bob would have 50% chances to know to get which one of the two Alices was the signer, right? Signed that actual message. Now, to make things even more tempting, let's say, imagine that instead of having just two Alices, we have many other users that they can share the same secret key. So in group signatures, basically what we do, we form groups with different users, and then for each group we create one unique secret key. So we have secret keys per group and not per users, and then we assign many users to one group, and these users, they have the common they share the common secret key that they can use in order to sign a message. So every time that Bob receives a signed message from that group, he cannot tell which user of that group signed the message. He can tell that that message has been signed by that group, but he cannot know the exact identity of the user that signed the message, and therefore the users keep their identity hidden, so they keep their anonymity. Now, apart from the signer and the verifier, we also have a group manager in this scheme. So the group manager is something like the policeman here, who has a master key, that with this master key he can reveal the identity of a group member, of a user anyway, in case he or she is misbehaving, for example. Now, group signatures, they are unforgeable, which means that only members of the group can create valid group signatures. They provide anonymity. So given the message and its signature, the identity of the individual signer cannot be determined without group manager's secret key, without that master key that I mentioned. They provide unlinkability, which means that given two messages and the signatures, we cannot tell if the signatures were from the same signer or not. And finally, they provide traceability. So given any valid signature, the group manager should be able to trace back the signer. Apart from that, we've got the one-time signatures, which are digital signature schemes with signing and verification times typically much faster than the conventional digital signature schemes. Nevertheless, the security of these schemes is guaranteed only as long as the keys are not used to sign multiple messages. Now, in many cryptographic constructions, this is enough to guarantee security of the overall application, and one-time signatures can be profitably used to speed up the signing and verification processes. Keep in mind that every time that you sign something with a one-time signature scheme, then a new public key needs to be generated. Otherwise, the scheme will not work. And then we've got the arbitrated signatures. So in the arbitrated signature schemes, we have three parties. We have Alice and Bob, the sender and the verifier, the sender and the receiver anyhow, but we also have a third party, which is called the trusted third party, or TTP. So this is the first time that we are talking about a TTP, but it's something that we see in security and crypto related papers very often. So we'll talk about TTPs in the next videos a lot, but not now. For now, keep in mind that a TTP is an entity that requires an unconditionally that is trusted by everyone in a community. Okay, so in our case, we've got a TTP, we've got Alice and Bob, which means that Alice and Bob, they unconditionally trust the TTP. Now, what's going on here is that Alice and Bob, they will individually contact the TTP, they will run a protocol, and they will basically share a symmetric key with the TTP, unique symmetric keys, which means that Alice will contact the TTP, will run a protocol, and they will share a symmetric key KAT. Then Bob individually will run another protocol with the TTP, and at the end of the protocol, they will have established another different symmetric key, KBT, right? Another unique key. Now, the signatures here are done in a symmetric way. Okay, so every time that Alice wishes to send a signed message to Bob, she cannot do it directly by contacting Bob. So first, she signs the message and she sends that signed message to Bob, to the TTP by using KAT. Upon reception, the TTP who has access to KBT and KAT, he can generate a new version, a new signed version of the message by using KBT and send this to Bob. Upon reception, Bob, who has access to KBT, he can verify the signature basically. Now, symmetric key crypto results in a very fast algorithm. However, this speed up is overshadowed by the TTP as well as the communication overhead. Apart from that, we have the undeniable signatures. So signature verification requires the corporation or signer, and this is an interactive protocol. So imagine that Alice, for example, wishes to gain access to a secured area like a safety deposit box controlled by Bob, the bank, and Bob requires Alice to sign a time and date document before access is granted. Now, if Alice uses an undeniable signature, then Bob is unable to prove at some later date to anyone that Alice used the facility without the direct involvement of Alice in the verification process. And finally, we've got the incremental signatures. So incremental signatures are digital signatures that can be updated when the underlying document is modified and this is faster than recomputing the signature from scratch. So incremental digital signatures are useful each time you want to sign many related documents, for example, letters that follow a template, or automatically maintain digital signatures of documents being written so that signatures are immediately available. Now, incremental signatures, however, also raise new security concerns. the signature might reveal information about the way a given document was written and possibly violate users' privacy. Uh, and by that, basically we conclude this video. The guy that you see on your left is David Chaum, widely recognized as the inventor of digital cash, an electronic cash application that aims to preserve users' anonymity. And apart from that, he has invented blind signatures as well as many other cryptographic protocols. Next time we will be talking about digital certificates. Thanks a lot.